work with your students? Is there any programs to help get them through the clearance program, or, because usually you can't get a clearance until you're hired on, and
Right.
that makes that difficult.
Right.
So.
Not that I'm aware of, mainly because of the reason you just stated, of having to have a
But I don't know
position.
the research part, if they're working on government type projects.
And those students might have clearance. My guess, and I'm gonna have to look into this, but my guess is it's not a formal program, it's just a case by case basis.
Probably not. Yeah.
I worked on base for a long time, and we always had UD students as our co-ops. So you can work it out.
Yeah, I'll give you a name.
Yeah. They were always UD students.
Yeah.
In the IT program.
Yeah.
MIS program.
Okay, good. I'm Rob Williams. I'm the Director of Discovery Lab Global, which is a year-round entrepreneurial STEM lab, and I'll talk about that. I've got a flyer that I can provide an electronic copy of, and it's a one-pager such that if this went down, I could talk about our program from this one slide. So if you wanted an electronic copy of it, just write your name and email address on the back, and I'll forward it to you. If you will. But so what happened is about 10 years ago, the future executive director of AFRL had this vision for what became a Tech Edge. And I had just come back from DARPA in Washington, D.C., and I'd been hired as a tech advisor, appointed as chief scientist for one of the research grants within AFRL, and they gave me an opportunity to lead what became Discovery Lab here in this building, and I ran it for 10 years as a founding director before I retired last year to basically start Discovery Lab Global to leverage the 10 years that I spent figuring out how not to do it, right? And in many ways, what this is really about is about giving college students an early head start on their professional development, at the same time to give startups a chance to start up, okay? In some ways, I'm a startup, okay? Although people have told me that I'm a startup that spent 10 years figuring out how to be a startup. Okay? So what I'm going to offer to you is something that is built on 10 years here within this, under the AFRL umbrella, to connect students early on to research opportunities, to develop them as professionals, but on a very personal level. I envy them because, as I tell them, I don't get to have fun anymore. And so I live through them. And so their priority is to have the fun learning that I don't have anymore. But what's kind of interesting, when I was at AFRL, it was very clear. In fact, we had a number of people come up to me and say, you know, the things that the students were doing, it could be patented, okay? Well, there are reasons why we didn't pursue that, because I was an army of one. And I got a patent, and it takes a lot of time and money, right? But I'm no longer government, so partnering with small businesses and large businesses and government agency is very much on the table. So I retired in December. The lawyers told me don't do anything until January. In January, I told everybody we're going to have an open house on the 4th of August. Then I spent 2 months trying to figure out whether or not we could actually pull it off. And then once in March, when we figured out that we could pull it off, I spent April and May scrambling to get ready for June. And then in June, we spent 2 months doing it so that we could brag about it in August. It's now September. Right?
Yep.
So I'm very much about entrepreneurship. I'm very much about accelerating innovations and growing innovators. Quite frankly, if you ask me, my passion for why I'm doing it is really about growing innovators. Because I actually struggled with whether or not this was a for-profit or not-for-profit. And the philanthropic in me won out. Philanthropy is harder, right? So this is really to give you a sense, and just so you know, I feel like what we're doing complements what we've heard today. Because for a number of reasons, my focus is to bridge the last 2 years of high school and the first 2 years of college, okay? And if you put a gun to my head and said, pick 1 year, I'll tell you, it's college freshman. And in fact, I'm cheating because during the summertime, it's incoming college freshmen and current freshmen, right? And the other thing that you should know is everything I'm going to talk about, we've done. This is what I've learned in government, because there's this gauntlet that you have to run to convince people to fund you, right? It's a lot easier to get funding when you tell them, when you get to a point where you go, I'm sure you wonder why I think this could work. Well, because we've already done it. Once you say that, all of a sudden, they start to listen to you, right? Because mainly you've proven that you believe in it strong enough, right? So that's what I want to kind of make clear to you is everything I talk about, we've done. Okay, it's a not-for-profit entrepreneurial STEM lab, built on 10 years track record, as I mentioned to you, just for a number of reasons. This is not me going, we're going to do this, now let's figure it out. In the 10 years, I said, where should we emphasize our attention? And this was it, okay? Really, it was this, but I wanted to grow the future grad students because I ran a research office, right, on base. And 1 year I had enough funding for 10 PhD students. We could only find 2, okay? And the reason why was there weren't enough kindergartners going into STEM. I'm not kidding, okay, because I did the back, and that's what I found out. So that's why we're doing this. Here's the thing. This is what I tell large companies, because we're starting to reach out to large companies as well. We can reduce the cost and risk associated with hiring top talent. Somebody had said this, if you go to the universities trying to find top talent seniors, it's too late, right? I remember, I'm going to name, no, I better not because it's being paid. So I remember going to a university when I was Air Force and said, we'd like to come there and recruit some of your students. And they basically said, we're a top tier university, get in line. Then I told them, I'm actually interested in your freshmen. They said, literally, come on down. We'll bring out the coffee for you, okay? It's amazing the kinds of opportunities for startups when you think about recruiting early, and obviously it helps the students and it helps the university. So that's where we're really at. And remember, I told you, I told the students, you owe me your very best efforts at having fun. And so out of that, you get teams that can rapidly prototype innovation, in which results in organizations getting funding. So there's actually an organization that sponsored a project. They didn't spend any money because I was government. They invested their time. And without exaggeration, the prototype that the students developed, they pitched it to their agency in DC, and they got $3 million. Okay? And there's other stories like that. And if you think about it, you can understand why, right? People love crazy ideas, but they don't like the funding, right? So how do you prove to people that these crazy ideas are worth funding? By showing them prototype results. Well, who would be crazy enough to want to do crazy ideas? College freshmen. I'm serious, okay? All right, so we recruit nationally. This past year this past summer as a not-for-profit, we had 90+ students. It's sad to say that I can count the number of students, both high school and college, that were from the local area on one hand. Okay, so you could use your help, right? Whenever I approach the universities and I ask them about their incoming freshmen, they're not prepared for that. The incoming freshmen are the ones that have not showed up yet, right? Okay, but we actually worked with the university that believed in this enough to actually make the effort to take the flyer and send it to their incoming freshmen who have yet to step on campus, and those students participated, and it's amazing. Okay, so here's our ask. I'm going to ask something of you, and it's not money. Okay, there's a reason for this. If you're interested, we would love to have a letter of support from you saying, this is a great idea, we would love to sponsor an idea and maybe even mentor the idea, 1 to 2 hours per week, okay? And if I have time, I'll explain why. Because this is an initiative that we are advertising nationally for funding, right? And the thing that we're basically saying to organizations, STEM initiatives that are national, is that our niche is we're going to not only give college freshmen early hands-on experience out of your program, but we're going to actually make an effort to connect them with companies as college freshmen, okay? Now, but you say, well, how are you going to manage to pull that off? My background, okay? Now, I only started to put together a chart about myself a couple of years ago because we started to recruit high school students who were going to be college freshmen. Very bright, very motivated. Most important thing, very motivated, right? But I'm telling you, when you recruit somebody who's barely out of high school, you got to recognize the fact that there's an immaturity challenge that some of them have. And so I had to come up with this chart to remind them and their parents that this is a serious opportunity. And I would actually tell the students, I'm not your mom and dad, I'm not your high school teacher, I'm not your camp counselor. I'm a retired Air Force officer, AFRL, bachelor, master, PhD. I ran a research lab. I was a DARPA program manager in micro drones. Right? I would say UAV, UAS, they go, what the heck is that? And I'd say drones, and say, I know what a drone is. Okay, I used to be an engineering professor at AFIT, right? Brain signal processing, Intel analyst, and an engineer in Washington, D.C. on special projects. That's all I'm going to say, right? And then former national engineer. So I tell the students, the kinds of experience we're giving you as college freshmen, they're serious, okay? And so you can imagine for a large company, all of a sudden, we've actually vetted the students who demonstrated soft skills. Because really for the companies, for the large companies, that's their biggest interest. They're not interested in, well, they are, but they're not interested in the creativity, imaginative. They want students who will show up on time and follow instructions, right? So we take all the risk. And in fact, I would tell you that I think students have grown as a result of our experience, right? And again, I'm speaking from personal experience, okay? So that's my background, and this is our model. If I went into the details of it, I actually had somebody tell me that I should patent this, but I'm sharing it with you freely, okay? Because remember, this is what I learned by doing, right? And there's actually elements to this that aren't obvious, but it's a two-stage process of giving the students a chance to learn cool things and apply what they learn to relevant applications. Seems simple, but I'm talking about a broad diversity of, okay, we're not a niche lab, okay? Yes?
I just want to make a note, kind of a reinforcement. I think he has a personal accountability methodology that is excellent in terms of getting the student to become accountable for their work versus excuses
Yes.
or other ideologies of,
right.
hey, I didn't get, nope.
Yes.
I'm going to make you accountable.
Yes.
I'm going to give you exit strategies to lead if you do not maintain your focus. And I'll give you one more opportunity before
Yes.
it's 100% your responsibility for execution and results.
Yeah. And I
think
figured
that's
that,
a big
yes,
thing.
yes, and I figured that out this summer, okay, because I was no longer government, which meant that I didn't have the prestige of the Air Force, and I didn't have the funding of the Air Force. Well, who in their right mind would do something like this because it was Rob Williams, and it's a learning internship, code word unpaid, right? We had over 100 students apply, and 90 plus finish, to include high school students. It's amazing. It's amazing the kind of talent that you can find. And the biggest challenge for me right now, and this has always been this way, even as a DoD program, is finding those students who desperately want to be found. I'm not exaggerating, okay? There are students that want this opportunity, and I'm trying to figure out how to find them, and that's why there's Global Discovery Lab. Global. It's not because I'm trying to be IBM or Apple or Facebook. It's trying to find the students wherever they happen to be, and then connecting them with opportunities that accelerate their development, and then giving them the sense of satisfaction of doing something that matters, okay? And so this is the value proposition. You can read it for yourself. For the students, it's at this very early stage, it's about strengthening your resume and gaining marketable skills, not just technical, but soft skills, right? And then for the large companies and large organizations, and to include DoD, it's the early identification of potential future hires. And so you can imagine the opportunity for a startup to influence these top talent, okay, and so forth, okay. And then for a startup, one of the things I learned at DARPA, you gotta come up with these sound bites. You got great students, we got great ideas. I should probably trademark that or whatever that's called, right?
Branding.
Yeah, so seriously. And then for the communities, so for us, my heart is helping the communities develop, right? These are challenging times. So in some of the past brochures, it's about providing partnership with communities and companies. And there's a lot more that I could say to that. I just came back from a long drive to a city, 2 states over, to help them achieve some of their diversity initiatives. Okay, that's a story in itself, right? Okay, so this is our process. Okay, bubbles with lines, but we recruit nationally, give them a learning experience. We give them a chance to defend their proposal that they want to then apply to something that smells like a Shark Tank, but we call it Launchpad, right? And then they come back and present it again. The Launchpad is in the virtual world, so they come as avatars. Okay, what that basically means, any student who has computer access to internet downloads free software and comes in and participates as an avatar. So you can imagine how much that opens up the door, right? And you might say, well, what if they're hundreds of miles away? What good would that do me? Well, we've kind of figured out to a certain point how to create research teams that work on not only software projects, but believe it or not, on hardware projects, even though the team members are spread hundreds of miles apart. That's without exaggeration. And I could even say more. Yes, we've actually had high school students show up. That's a long story, but show up. Actually, their parents flew them in and stayed with them for 6 weeks in a hotel because they wanted this opportunity. Then the high school student went to Stanford, and he came back 2 more years. Why didn't he come back the 3rd year? Because I did not have a startup to pair him up with. You see how that works? We've lost some really great students because we could not give them the next step, because they accelerate their development in our program, right? So where we're really working right now is we got this part figured out. I can do this in my sleep, right? It's this part that it's about partnerships, connecting the students with opportunities beyond us. Because why would they want to come to us if they're not getting paid, right? We've got 100 plus of them to sign up. It's kind of interesting when you look at the resume of the 100 plus, they are students that you would want to recruit. Fair enough? I mean, it's phenomenal. I wish I could be even more excited, but I can't. Okay. Seriously. So I'm just trying to figure out how to get traction on this, right? Because there's all the things that you said is what we tell them, but what I really made a commitment to those students, I'm gonna do my part to try to connect you with opportunities down the road. I actually want to lose them as college sophomores, okay? And so this is the virtual environment. I love this technology. I will tell you that this is not a hammer that makes everything a nail. It has its limitations, I'll tell you that right now. But I love it because it allows you to connect with people and ideas wherever they happen to be. I mean, if I had more time, you can see I get very animated about the opportunities here. My problem is I try to do too much everywhere, okay? But we've actually held conferences, workshops, classes, and so forth in the virtual world. And when you look at all this, you would ask yourself, well, where did you get this from? And I'll tell you, the software to do this is free. And everything that you see here was created by students, right? And if you then ask, well, how much did they know about this technology before they started? You know the answer already, right? Nothing, right? In fact, the kinds of students you're looking for, the more challenging you make it, right? The more they love it. Okay, so I can tell you so much more about this. Okay, these are actual conferences. This is me. Okay, that's me in the blue shirt, and these are the students that helped organize our first Women in STEM conference in the virtual world. Okay, and then we had a professor teach a course in geospatial technologies. This was actually a course to the students. And then we held a conference in water quality involving folks from NASA and so forth like that. Okay, and I mean just on and it's fun. Okay, I just say that now because I run the place. Okay, so these are some of the students, right? We had 90+ students. So here is the thing. I think I could have done a better job. I'm not sure how, but I think I could have done a better job. Here's the metric that I use for the students, and I would actually tell the students, when I was government, I would say to them, here's how I'm measuring you. And I would tell the students, here's how I'm measuring you. Because remember, I ran a research office, right? And I said to them, here's how I measure you. If I was asked by my organization to run a fast-paced, high-performance team for a special project crucial to the organization, would I hire you? Right? Real simple, right? It's very subjective, very qualitative. It's a gut feel. But you know where you get that gut feel from. It's the accumulation of all they've done or not done, all that they've said and not said, all the things that they've documented and not documented, and how they reacted to challenges, right? And here is a group of students that I would hire on a heartbeat. And they're all freshmen and high school seniors. You see what I'm saying? Okay. And this is just the tip of the iceberg. Okay. Okay, so these are some of the projects. I had to tell you that they did work on stuff, right? From hardware to software. Have you ever heard the term "hold that thought"? Hold that thought. This is a emotive insight. Picks up your brainwave signals. And then I asked this student if you wanted to generate a 3D model of what you're thinking, right? In 3D printed, so that you could hold this thought. Right? So you can imagine all that. Now, what was the motivation? Just for the heck of it. But you can see, if you were to see his video, I mean, he had to learn all of this stuff. And then, I love this part. And when the students say, Dr. Williams, how do I start? It's my favorite phrase. I go like this. I have the foggiest idea. I do. But with my background, I do have the foggiest idea. But you understand, and I tell the students, if I do it, it's not yours, right? And so I will actually tell the students, you're going to encounter things that are going to give you this empty feeling. You've ever had that? Where you don't know where to start? You get confused, you get even a little bit scared. And I would actually tell the students, embrace that feeling. Don't run away from it, okay? Because the moment you learn to overcome it, that feeling will come again later on in your career, and you can say, boy, that feeling feels familiar. I had a lot of that feeling during Discovery Lab Global. Dr. Williams wouldn't help me. He wouldn't lift a finger, and I had to figure it out myself, working with my team members. You see what I'm trying to say? Okay. So, and so you got to figure out a way to inspire them with opportunities for imaginative innovation, right? So these are some of the technologies that we worked on in the past, and we're going to continue to work on. But the thought was to put them under the umbrella of an integrated capability, right? Iron Man, Iron Woman. When you look at every one of these, they can see applications to where they improve a person's ability to do something, right? But it turns out you can see where my heart is. You can give those who are able-bodied greater capability. But what about those who are not able-bodied? The same technology can be used to help us, and that's kind of where we're going with it. Okay, and so these are some of the areas that we're actually talking about. But remember, I struggled with this, and I decided the philanthropic path was my calling, right? And so the students actually have a chance to do projects in the domain of civic innovation, right? Innovating a better world. I just came back from the city. This is a White House initiative, by the way, called My Brother's Keeper. it's to kind of put students on a path that does not lead to jail. Okay, and how do you do that? You help them see other possibilities and to develop the skills. And I mean, I could tell you stories about this. That's my problem. So people, you have to, you know, Rob, why do you do all this stuff? I mean, it's for the stories. Okay, which are for another time. And then we're going to do a high school boot camp. This is free. Okay, we actually got some limited funding for this. Okay, remember. So here's a case of we've got funding for this, and we're scrambling to find the students. Okay, and then we've done an outreach. This is a national festival we've done, and then we're in discussions to help somebody bring educational opportunities to a village in Peru. For real. It's not like I go, our charter is to do Peru. Let's go do. No, right. It just, it's another story. So anyway, so summarizing, we're a not-for-profit, 10-year track record. Kind of read it for yourself. I'm really hoping that there'll be some interest, so just so you know, we're actually helping a startup already from South Carolina. How in the world did a startup in South Carolina find out about this in Dayton, Ohio, right? I'm the foggiest idea. Well, I do know. Okay, what happened was that startup talked to a startup here because that startup had skills that startup needed to prototype something to get venture capital funds. But that startup needed money, more money than they had. This startup told this startup about us, right? So that startup has 3 of our students. End of story. See how that works? Okay, so I'm hoping to try to make students in the area aware of this opportunity as high school students and college freshmen, trying to work more closely with universities, and then offering this to startups. For me, I have to connect with large companies because that's probably where any hope of funding comes from, right? Trying to connect with small companies for the philanthropic reasons of helping companies launch and so forth. So that's kind of where things are. Okay? And so my goal, hopefully, but maybe working with WBI by the end of the year, that Discovery Lab Global will be on the lips of all the small companies in the area, because it's a win-win, right? For the small companies and for the students, and for the communities. Okay? Hey, thanks.
Thank you. Okay, if I could wrap up really quickly for a couple more minutes. Thanks for all staying this long. And talk about the turnkey kind of employment. Perfect, thank you. So this actually ties into Rob because we're talking about AFRL and the Air Force Base. But I will strategically pass these out last so they sit on the top of all your piles. Thought about that earlier. So not only do we work with bringing all the universities in the area to work together collaboratively, something that I think we can see in the MVP and some of the other programs. We work on helping businesses hire interns that might not be able to do it for all kinds of reasons, whether it's structurally, whether it's having the time to look for students, ACA compliance, I think we all heard about that time and time again. So actually, how do we handle interns now that it's 28 hours, not 35 hours a week for full-time, offering benefits and things like that. So Sochi kind of created an arm of Sochi Intern, to really help businesses and nonprofits take care of that issue. So we already have an extremely strong relationship with a student research program and the Athletes Summer Program on base. That accounts for a large amount of our students. We hire between 250 to 300 students on and off base throughout the year. In all different fields, obviously being on base, there's a heavy STEM focus, but we use our resources with all the different universities to reach students from all different fields, not just STEM. So what what do we do more in depth? We leverage our connections with the different universities to try to really provide fulfilling internships for the students at all of the different colleges. We don't just target one or two, we try to use MVP and our connections to all of the member universities to give really good internships. We, outside of MVP, maintain our own pool of highly qualified applicants that select to be in our pool. So normally when we're contacting them, they've already chosen, they're very likely to respond to us. They want to be selected for our internship positions. And we can really cut down on the time that it takes to hire interns because we do it so often. You know, once we get that job posted, we can be recommending and supplying resumes and applications of students very quickly, and then turning around and hiring those students. We can do it within 24 to 48 hours if we need to. Normally it's kind of the limitations of getting contact with the business and things. It's not being able to do the HR paperwork, which, especially being a government contractor, has huge benefits that not all people can offer. So we offer payroll, timekeeping, and administrative aspects, ensuring compliance. And as a little twist, because we are a nonprofit focused on Southwestern Ohio, we like to provide a little education about the area, things to do. We focus heavily on retention, trying to eliminate that brain drain that I talked about earlier. So how do we keep great, talented people in Dayton and the surrounding regions? You know, so many of the times you hear about the UD bubble or all the students working at Wright State. We really try to break that down. So we've used the NACE pay based on the region, try to break that down, and we do charge an overhead fee on charge of that. As we talk about engagement, we try to take the students down the river kayaking every year, a little fun activity. Most students will never say they got a kayak down the middle of downtown Dayton. Most students don't even know that you can kayak down the middle of downtown Dayton. So maybe many of you didn't either. So kind of a cool aspect. We do not just that though, we work heavily with Up Dayton in the area, which is a young professionals group. They're trying to kind of provide a cohesive experience. Sometimes working with small businesses, there's only one or two interns. That can provide a little difficulty that you don't have the intern class that you're learning and going through processes with. So trying to give those students that internship opportunity that they want to be able to have with a much larger corporation that's kind of expected. Well, we try to give that to all of our students working with us. I mean, Dayton's not only a great place to work, but it can be a great place to play and live, I think, is the Five Rivers people have coined. So, trying to get them to network and work with others. If you have any questions, sorry, I kind of flew through that, but I know we're pushing time. I'd be happy to talk with you. We're always interested in trying to partner with businesses, get internships. Obviously, the career services can offer some great benefits searching, but we try to take away any excuse that businesses can possibly have for not hiring interns in this area through our internship program as well. So, Rob talked about focusing on younger students. We can focus on all college students. I don't say we have an age group, and that's normally to the business's likings. Whatever the business is looking for, we try to really set that. You know, we don't. Some people are like, oh, you're like a temp agency, you do everything. Well, we don't do the interviewing and things like that, just because you're the ones that know the culture of your own businesses. Culture is extremely important. It's basically what makes people talk about you and say you're a great business, you should intern or co-op with them. We can't control, well, we could, but if we're the ones trying to control your culture by hiring interns, it doesn't quite work as well. So we want you to handle all of that, but take away all the red tape and the paperwork behind the scenes, so you can just have an extremely meaningful internship, talk about all the benefits to your company and student that we saw without having to have someone in the background doing all the paperwork, because sometimes that can be a real drag and make you not so fond of the internship or co-op program. So that's my talk. If you have any questions, I can stay around. Thanks for all for being here. And we're before 4, so we're still in our time range.
I actually personally worked with Sochi through JGR Solutions. We hired a few